Recording in progress.
Hello, Swivelheads. It's Greg Allison from Green Greg's coming to you on the second day of December 21. Time on deck is 205600 hours Central Standard Time. And I have to ask you, is the mark upon us the mark of the beast? What is the mark of the beast? Has it been here before? Is it coming back? But there are some really strange things about this. And it is certainly something that terrifies and perplexes a lot of people. And really, there may be more questions than answers, because this is a very mysterious thing indeed to many people. A lot of people think they've got it solved, but then there's some things that seem yet to be resolved. So let's do a little reading here. Let's do a little research. I'll bring you the King James Version of the Holy Bible, as was implemented by King James Stewart, and I have Stewart ancestry, by the way. Good or bad, I don't know which that is. But let's go here to the book of Revelations. And we're going to go to Revelations 13, and we're going to start in 16, Revelations 13:16. And it says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand." In their right hand, very important. Or in their foreheads, Don't say on their foreheads. That's rather interesting. In their foreheads. And in fact, it don't say on the right hand either. It says in their right hand. Marked in their right hand or in their foreheads. That's kind of interesting. And he causeth all, excuse me, I just read that. And no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Okay, those are ors. Logically, it's one or the other, not necessarily all of them. So maybe the mark comes in different forms. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath the understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. And the number is 666. Now, there are historical references to this, and yet there are references that are popping up and similarities at this very day. So what does this mean? What does it say? Can we ferret it out? Or is it beyond us? This is strange business, my friends, very strange business. And even if all this had come to pass already, as some people think, there's some strange mysteries surrounding it today. Why? If it's already happened, why? We're about to go all into this. We're going to talk about it. I'm not going to profess to have the answers. I'm going to raise some discussion that you figured out. You can comment on it below, but there's some really strange happenings going on today, and we're just going to talk about it. But think about this. This book talks about some very, 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 what we call apocalyptic. Actually, apocalypse is a revelation. It's supposed to be like good news in a sense. You're going to have all these rough times, and something better is coming in the end. Interesting. What is it? What's coming? What kind of world is coming to us? What is it going to be? Right now, we are in a period of we're reaching a period of what you might call Great Tribulation. Maybe in the era of John Patmos, they had Great Tribulation then too. But look at us today. Worldwide strife. The possibilities for WWIII between Russia and Europe, US and Russia, China and India, India and Pakistan, China and Taiwan, China and the US, North Korea and South Korea, North Korea and the US. Look inside this country at the strife that's going on right here. This country has not been so divided since the early 1860s, when we were in a major internal confrontation known as, amongst some of us, as the war between the states. We are in economic peril right now. Our country is having quite a few difficulties at this moment. And there are plagues, bugs going around, and possibilities for worse ones that very much remind us of the kind of things we find in that book of Revelations. The book of Revelations talks about some very extremely trying times known as the Great Tribulation. And some people think there's a tribulation and the Great Tribulation as two separate time periods. There are times referred into the book as 3.5 years, but it seems to be repeated. So some people infer a 7-year period out of that. All right. I'm not here to talk the Bible so much. I'm really here to talk about what we're facing and how does it tie into this stuff, because there's some really strange happenings today. I'll let you ferret that out, but here's what you need to know. We are in such tough times that we got to keep our eyes wide open and head on a swivel more than ever to figure out what's coming at us right this minute. Is it analogous to what was happening in the days of John of Patmos? Is it far bigger, far worse? And did that era truly fulfill, as some people think, the prophecies? I do have a piece of data that suggests maybe not. And there might be things to come because of that. So, all right, whatever the case, irrespective or irrespective of the contents of this book, it's hard to deny that we are in perilous times right now. Times that you need to be prepared for to cover your friends, your family, and mainly your family to survive. That's a good reason to watch this channel, because I'll bring you that kind of information. Subscribe to my channel. Bang the notification bell, because I talk about things like preparations, about gardening, which most people don't realize that gardening is one of the best prepper activities you can do. And for that, I highly encourage you to go to True Leaf Market, links below, where you can get the heirloom seeds that you'll need to be able to grow to feed your family. True Leaf Market, links below to that. But also, you really need to get long-term food storage. Long-term food storage is what might come in very handy if you have to bug out because of all the crazy stuff where you have to leave your home, where you're on the move. You need foods, things that last a long time, that's portable. And if you go to prepwithgreg.com, you'll find it's lightweight, easy to carry, easy to store, easy to put in caches, because it's in durable buckets with durable pouches inside. You get 6 of these, which is 3 months supply, $100 off right now at prepwithgreg.com. It's lightweight. The kids can carry it because it is freeze dried, which means it can be reconstituted into regular food. All I had to do is add water, literally. All right, so go to prepwithgreg.com. Also check out my links to True Leaf Market. Both are critical right now with what's coming. So let's go into this stuff. I'm going to show you some websites, and then I'm going to come back to this book, because there's some things going on right now. We're going to look at what's going on right now. Then we're going to look at evidence that where some people say, this has already happened. And I'm going to bring it back to today. Says, really has it? I don't know. I'll let you be the judge in the end. And so this is not a religious channel, but we are certainly living in times that try men's souls. So if you know what I mean, definitely that. And I think few could argue with that point, whatever your religion is. I respect people of all faiths, but we've got to consider these times that we're in. So I'm going to do a share, my friends. We're going to do a quick share, and you got to see this, guys. You've really got to see it. The reason I say it's not a religious channel is I do have people of all faiths that follow this channel. And this channel is a channel about prepping. If I want to start a channel about religion, I'll start a new channel for that. Maybe one day, but that's not our purpose here right now. Now, look at this, guys. The Swedes get what? What do they get? Chipped implants after this passport. Oh yeah, what's this passport use? Why do you need this passport? To buy, to sell, to travel. Oh yeah, what do they get? The right hands, usually. Yeah, in the hands, not on the hands, in the hands. Well, they're getting it in the hands, guys. So far, only 6,000. So this is not quite to the level that you would find in Revelations. So far, only 6,000, but this is a growing number. Maybe it's the beginnings of something. Yeah. They stress that, hey, with this microchip implant, people that are carrying this have stopped carrying vehicle passports, the jab passports, keys, ID cards. You don't need it, even train tickets. It's all there in the data contained in that chip, including your bank accounts one day. They'll all be there. Everything you need. So you're not carrying ID cards. You're not carrying credit cards. It's all there. Literally buy and sell a passport to travel, to do anything you want. Wow. And what if you don't do it? Just enforce. Yeah. And IDs. So a lot of us need an ID to work. I use an ID to do my job. I have to put it in my computer. And one day I'll just have to, maybe one day they expect you'll just scan your hand. All right. We're not going all into this. Oh yeah, look, the U.S. is planning tougher testing. What? Interesting. Greece is making requirements. These requirements are just growing. As the Omnicrud is beginning to start sowing. This is worldwide, guys. That stuff's happening. Of course, we know that some are out there to establish a set, which they call greed, great reset, big reset button. They call it great. But why then are they teasing us with patent numbers like this? This is the day. This is a Microsoft patent. WO. Is that for world order? I don't know what's got WO. 2020. It's last year. That's when this patent was granted. And the number of the patent is what? 060606. You gotta be kidding me. What? Why? We've talked about this before. Many other channels have talked about it, but why they pick that? Is not a coincidence. Why you got to pick a patent number like that, even if it is not the mark? This is infuriating a lot of people. Why would you incense people of faith with throwing out something like this? Oh yeah, A1. Is that the first? Or is it, or are you going to be A1 steak sauce tenderized once you take this? I don't know, guys. Or maybe you'll be flavorful enough for the powers that be to consume you. Why A1? Well, that's like version 1, right? Like the Rev 1, like the M1A1 tank. Maybe that's what it is. A1. Rev 1. Yeah, we got Rev A in documentation. So I don't know. But that number, many of you know, this is a cryptocurrency system using body activity data. This is intended like to track you, to track your body, to track your body movements. I don't know everything you're doing, how you're moving. And of course, with they can already tell where you are, as long as you're carrying one of these. They know where you are unless you got it put into a sheath that does not allow transmissions. You make those a Faraday cage. Wow. But what is it? Why did they have to pick a number like this? This is a patent search thing here, guys. And you can go all into it. We're not going to go into this because many other channels have covered this in the past. So I don't want to replow that ground. Boom. But, we just look at this, guys. When was the book of Revelations written, guys? Some people think it was either AD 68 to 70, following the persecutions of Emperor Nero, but before Jerusalem fell in AD 70, or it occurred in AD 90 to 95 during the persecutions of Emperor Domitian. I hope I'm saying that right. So 2 possible periods for when this book was written. And most people believe it was written in this time frame, and a lot of people believe that Emperor Nero was the Antichrist for various reasons. And we can show you that. That's actually in many of these websites here. So is that the case? Is all this past? Or something yet to come? And if this was indeed the mark, why is it being emulated so today? Why are they so interfaced with this? See, that's a big question. Big question. Is Revelations multidimensional? Did it apply to the past and the future? Well, what was passed to us, maybe not at the time it was written. So, geez, check it out, guys. So here's something. This is a very interesting website here. Rivalnations.org, Mark of the Beast. You can look this up. Rivalnations.org, Mark of the Beast. Very interesting website, and this leans to it all being Nero. And I've heard this theory I've been interested in prophecy since I was a kid. I mean, like 9 or 10 years old. I was just riveted by these concepts of prophecy, what was in them. And when I would read about the beast and things described in the Bible, they sounded to me like tanks and airplanes, helicopters. I mean, it sounded just like these devices I'm familiar with today. You know, I thought, well, how would a person living 2,000 years ago describe it? Well, pretty much like it's described herein. That's what I thought. But in any event, so what we can see this Revelations here. Who are the beasts? And there's a lot of discussions about that in this site. And you can see here that they're really building a case for Nero, more or less here. 5 have fallen, 1 is, but 1 is yet to come. As you can see here. Caesar Nero the beast. This treatise here really sees him as a beast. He was a notoriously awful, evil man, a psychopath, a complete psychopath. And yet he was worshipped and required to be worshipped in the Roman Empire as the emperor. He was grotesquely violent. As we know, he burnt 1/3 of Rome and blamed it on the Christians. And they were summarily very badly persecuted because of that. Nationwide persecution campaign against Christians. So, of course, this guy was beautiful. You know, what he did to his own family, his brother, his aunt. Yeah. So this guy was somewhat less than an absolutely lovely individual, if you know what I mean, in the most awful, facetious sort of way. And guys, this is what Nero was doing. This is how evil he was. He was sick, demented, yet he ran the country. Whoo! Can you believe that? Wow. This is why we don't need kings, people. Yeah, you might have some good kings. There were some good emperors. But many. Marcus Aurelius, yeah, he was a great philosopher emperor. But unfortunately, he was the exception, not the rule. So there we go. And you know, there was Caligula and many others that were also awful. So let's go on down here. I'll read this whole thing. Mark on the heads and forehands. Here it says the right hand. It's talking about how Jesus is at the right hand of God and how the right hand was so symbolic throughout Scripture. As you know, Jesus is supposed to return at the right hand of God Almighty in the clouds. So right hand is a very spiritually meaning number. I mean, thing, the right hand. Of course, you know, we raise the right hand when we swear an oath. Oh yeah, an oath. Needed to buy and sell. Well, there is something interesting things to this. Let's see if I find them in here. Yeah. So if Nero's name in Greek adds up, it adds up to 1005, which don't match 166, but it says here that John was a political prisoner in custody of Greek-speaking Romans. Greek-speaking Romans. It would have been wiser, because he was trying to hide what he was saying, for him to use another language like Hebrew, which is much less commonly known at that time. In Hebrew, Nero's name is this. When translated into English letters, it would be this. This way it was found and spelled in Hebrew in the Talmud, the other rabbinical writings. So in Hebrew, his name here added up exactly to 666. So Nero is definitely hang on, I missed it. He is definitely a candidate of an antichrist. He persecuted Christians, persecuted the Jews, and he was a tyrant and thoroughly wicked, thoroughly evil. Shows how you get that. So it does add up. Now, the other thing that a lot of people goes, well, yeah, but how did he require buying and selling? Well, that's in here too. So this book takes some exception to a lot of modern interpretations of this stuff. But it don't get you out of the woods entirely. I'm going to show you why in a minute. So in here, it also goes into how people were required to take a mark to go into the markets. And it's referred to as taking a mark. It's like ashes put on their hand or their forehead. See if I can find it in here. It's in this article. Hang on, guys. Sorry for I thought I had it dialed right up a minute ago. Well, I'm not going to belabor it much. But anyway, in this article, there is somewhere here. All right, I've gone past it. Anyway, what it was claiming here, this to buy and sell. Damn, here it is. So I'm not finding what I'm looking for. Here. Rome openly proclaiming rulers like Jesus were divine, gods, or sons of God. And all those under jurisdictions in Rome were required by law to publicly proclaim their allegiance to Caesar by burning a pinch of incense and declaring Caesar is Lord. Upon compliance with this law, the people were given a papyrus document called a libel, and they were required to present whenever they were stopped by Roman police or attempting to engage in commerce. So they had to have that. But there's also another little thing saying before you went to markets, you basically had to say something which was equivalent, which was an oath to Caesar, and you had to, and they would give you a mark of ashes on your hand or forehead to let you go into the market. Here it is. Here it is. What's more, worshiping or not worshiping the empire and as Caesar quickly became a dividing line between people who were considered acceptable in the community and those who weren't. Maybe taking a jab today. Many local officials introduced a daily formal requirement that unless you offered the proper tribute to Rome, you weren't even allowed into the marketplaces. And here they say this would be equivalent to having to say your pledge of allegiance to the American flag before going into the grocery store. After homage was paid to the empire and the king, ashes were placed on the hand or the forehead of the individual, and entrance into the markets was permitted. This was called taking the mark. This was called taking the mark. Since Christians declared that Jesus was Lord, meaning that anyone else was not, taking the mark was a sign of betrayal against God. Followers of Jesus were faced with a difficult choice: stay true to the Lamb or risk losing your livelihood, or offer your allegiance to the beast and everything will be all right. It would not be all right, though, according to Scripture, as we know. So there we go. But scripturally, the mark is the equivalent of taking an allegiance. So just getting something inserted into you as a passport may not quite rise to this level, at least yet. But this could be a first baby step in that direction. So there are those like the people that write this website who basically maintain that all of this was in the past. And they make a pretty good case for it, except for I run into something else in this Bible. Let me stop the share for a minute. We'll come back here in a moment. Bingo. Hello. One more little piece of scripture here that's highly interesting. And I've had this explained away to me. It's been something from the past too. It's a little harder to explain this away, in my humble opinion. Now, maybe the mark of the beast was for Nero. And maybe it is yet again. I don't know. But here's something that I find interesting here. And it's give me a second, gotta find the exact prices here. Aha, here we go. Revelations 9, verse. Which one of these do I want to go to? Yeah, we'll go to verse 13. We'll start in 13. Revelations 9:13. And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the sixth, this is verse 14, saying to the sixth angel, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the river Euphrates. The river Euphrates. Loose the four angels. And I've heard some people, there's also a description here about the four demons coming from the east, and I think maybe that's related. You know, it could be evil angels. I'm not sure. But loose the four angels which are bound in the river Euphrates. You will find other verses in here that talk about the Euphrates drying up and this army coming across. So this is all interesting. Verse 15. Again, this is Revelations 9:15. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, and to slay the third part of men. Wow, the third part of men. 1/3 of all men are to be slain by this event. And the number of the army, so there's an army. Here they refer to as horsemen, but their horses do sound very mechanistic. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. I heard the number of them. He heard the number. Now remember, it's often said that the Jews at the time were horrible with math, but he didn't mathematically discern this. He was given the number. 200,000. That is 200 million. 200 million men. Now, in this era, in this time that this was written, in the era of Nero, John of Patmos, there were only 50 million people on the entire planet, men, women, and children. On all the continents, spread around the world, only 50 million human inhabitants of Earth. So how do we equate this verse to them? And I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat upon them, having breastplates of fire and jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Could that be tanks? By these horses, not necessarily the angels, by these so-called horses that have issue fire and brimstone from their mouth, the third part of men were killed by the fire and the smoke and by the brimstone which issued from their mouths. For it is the power of their mouths and in their tails, missile launchers, and their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents, were like unto serpents, and had heads, and warheads, and with them they do hurt. Wow. And the rest of the men which were not killed by the plagues, yet repented not, and the works of their hands, repented not of the works of their hands, and they should not worship devils nor idols of gold and silver, or brass and stone and of wood, which neither can we see nor hear nor walk. Okay, so guys, how do you get this to fit in the time of Nero? This is part of that era of prophecy. Now, this verse actually precedes the verse of the Antichrist. So maybe this is supposed to happen first, but then again, maybe not, because this whole Revelation is kind of like a Russian doll with concentric shells in it, and it kind of repeats itself on top of that. So it's a very interesting book to read. A lot of people interpret it many ways, including the timeline, and make very intricate arguments for interpretation of this way or this way. And people will fight over these things. I'm not here to do any of that. I'm just here to raise some questions, because I'm going to go, let's go share again. Ding, 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 ding. Because, like I said, at the time that was written, there were only 500 million inhabitants on Earth. Yet we're talking about an army, probably men of fighting age, maybe women too these days, of 200 million that wipes out a third of the people on Earth, which would suggest there's a whole lot more people on Earth. Well, here's what I find interesting. This is known as Valor. I'm not gonna say it. Valor East's circle, whatever you call it. This circle right here, this circle has more people living inside of it on our Earth at this time than all of the rest of this. Most people on Earth live right here. Most people on Earth live right here. And indeed, we know that Indonesia is highly populated. We know that Indochina is highly populated. We know that China has 1.4 billion people. And India is about to surpass them. Japan is highly populated. The Koreas are highly populated. Now here is the Philippines, Borneo. Borneo is highly populated, but this circle has an extreme population density in it. A wart within this circle could easily eradicate a third of the people of Earth. Consider that. So this could easily be part of where this army is operating. But if it's coming out of the Euphrates, some see them as on the march. Maybe the war occurs here and then they come on the march and go this way into the area that was of interest to the writers of Revelations, being into the Levant, being into Palestine, Israel, whatever you want to call it, Judea, the countries in this area and beyond, which they may also take out even more people. That army is seen as taking out a third of humanity. Part of this may be here and part of it in other areas too. But this is the most populated area on Earth. Europe is very heavily populated too, by the way, but this is the most. Think about that. This kind of condition did not exist at the time. And there was, if you also read about and it had to be the river Euphrates, so that kind of points them back in this direction. The CIA World Factbook used to talk about, if you looked up India and China, it used to would tell you how big an army these countries could field. And in each case, the number was over 200 million. It was 240 something million for China, about the same for India. But I think they've taken that out. You can look up the CIA World Factbook online. It's in CIA's websites. I think they've sanitized a lot of it. You don't find all the data there you used to find, but they used to include stuff like that. So these are very interesting prophecies. Of course, Deagle.com says in a couple of years we're going to lose most of our people here. So what's happening, guys? This is a very, very, Deagle.com took that out though. They took out the 2025 predictions they had. So what's happening, guys? See, this takes revelations from the past maybe into our future. So maybe that's why things like this And this might make sense in that context. Elsewise, do they just do these things to incense Christians? Is that what it is? What is it? Or are they meaning they plan to emulate and set up a world like the world of Nero? And Nero was a very sick, twisted individual, by the way. So what does it mean? What is the real meaning of all these things, guys? You tell me. But here it is. Implants. This is a control mechanism, definitely. This is sliding into the hive that I talk about so much. This is definitely deep in the hive, should this be implemented. Something that they can monitor all your movements. Yikes. So we're talking about something beyond just a means of making purchases and having freedom to travel, a passport, if you will. This goes beyond it. And what's the number of it? Why is it got that number on it? Geez, even if all this took place, as this suggests, why would they come back and do this? Wow. And there's this, which has the same effect of what it is described by this number here in many ways, except people aren't necessarily taking an oath of loyalty. So that's what that mark is seen as a loyalty oath. So what is the bottom line of all this, guys? Let me stop the share. I always tell you, don't go into the hive. Part of our purpose is to help you survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. I'll tell you many times that's the purpose of this channel. If you're taking things like that, you are sliding deep into the hive, whatever that hive is. That hive seems to be somewhat, maybe, could it be less than totally wholesome? Why would they attempt to emulate something tied to a person as despotic and depraved as Nero? If 666 was the number of Nero, then why do they put it on a patent that it's still at that time run by, in a company run by a certain William of the big swinging clang, 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 not doors, metal bars. What do you call them? You know what I mean. The gates of Bill. The gates of what? This is interesting. It's highly, highly interesting, guys. Why? What? When? Where? Well, these things are happening. They're coming. Look at this. There's that thing going on in Sweden. Will that spread? Will it be mandated? I mean, the kind of mandates we're seeing, nobody would have believed this stuff. Nobody would have believed. If I had told you 2 years ago, let's say in the fall of 2019, if I had come to you and said, in 2 years, half the population of the world will be genetically modified and willingly take it, including people who won't even eat GMO food, you would tell me I was off my rocker. You would laugh at me and call me insane. And you would tell me that I was a tinfoil hat guy. Yeah, by the way, this is the official tinfoil cap. You can get by going to tinfoilcap.co or leakproject.com, I believe. Well, that thing blocks 5G, by the way, for whatever that's worth. I'm not one that worries about 5G, and I can go into that in the future, but I do worry about control matrices that control people, that pull us into the hive. That concerns me because that robs you of who you are, robs you of your freedom. And it could be the slippery slope into a very evil existence. What is the metaverse? Is Mark Zuckerberg going to be the Lord of the metaverse? Is he going to be what does this mean, guys? There's the metaverse. There's these brain machine interfaces such as neural lace, and neural lace may not be the one that prevails in the end. There's a lot of stuff coming at us. Hive tech. I talked in my original Hive video about the Hive tech arms race. And these are all pieces of it. Even the social credit system that exists in China today. This is a piece of that slippery slope right here that almost all of us carry. Some don't. Good for you. So, Facebook, Meta. Where does it all lead? Where do you draw the line? Well, if you've got to swear allegiance to a man, or if you've got to swear allegiance to something that you know is unholy, that's definitely a line you don't want to cross. But it would be so easy to slip into it. So here we are coming into an era where you might need things to work. They're talking about digital currency. Digital currency is not quite like Bitcoin. They're talking about a new kind of digital currency created by central banks. This might be a currency connected, and that's what China's trying to set up now, currency connected to your social credit score. And your social credit score is by how well you obey the powers that be. And when you are outside of that, they might put money in your bank, but when you go outside, they could just pull it right back out. That money has strings attached, and the strings are your adherence and obeying to their system. Is there an oath going to be connected with that? What's to come? And I don't know, guys. But like I said, 2 years ago, you would have told me I was insane and absolutely ridiculous if I had suggested to you the state of the world today. You would have laughed yourself silly. You would have pointed fingers at me, called me names, but look where we are today. We're going to be in 2 years, 3 years. What's coming? I don't know. But I know this. You need to keep your eyes wide open, your head on a swivel. And I know this. Testy times are definitely coming. In many ways, we're like in the late 30s, 1939, at the precipice of a huge war. Look at all the tension between the US and China, Russia, Iran. It's off the charts. Look at the tension inside this country. So many things at once. Look at the bugs going around. It is very much like the kind of stuff you would read in Revelations. Oh yeah, and there's all those beasts described in Revelations. I could do a whole video on that. Oh yeah. By the way, I just noticed something in this Bible that I got. Right here. A 7-leaf clover. This happens to be in the book of Job. Maybe that means we're being tested. But there's good luck in the end, because Job came out in the end, but he endured much before he got there. We're being tested today. We're being tested mightily. In the end, we win. We know that. In the end, we come out far beyond where we're at today, hopefully. That's what I believe. But the tests are going to be great, and we got to survive and get through these times. And that, in my humble opinion, requires prepping. But we can talk about the material prepping all day, because you do need to feed your family, yourself. You need clothing, you need shelter, you need to be able to eat, have clean water. But the main prep is right here. Your mind, your soul, your heart. Be right with your maker. I'm not telling you what faith to follow. Just be right. Make peace. And consider the things that could go bad. The book of Revelations is full of horrible, horrific ideas. So you maybe need to do just a little mental exercises, not to try to invoke it, like the power of suggestion, the power of intention, as Dr. Wayne Dyer used to talk about. What you think about is what you get. Don't think about it to that degree. Just think about the point that if these things occur, you won't be like a deer in the headlights. You won't be in shock. You'll still be able to function, because you can't afford to lose your head. If you do, you might literally lose your head. You still got to be able to function and do what you got to do to survive for yourself and your family. On the other end of whatever this big thing is that's coming at us, I do believe those of us that make it through on the other side, can stand up, shake off the dust, and build a better world. That's the proposition. So, what is coming? What is it coming? And even if all these things had come to pass and are already fulfilled, some people suggested most of these prophecies were fulfilled. Why are they emulating the mark today? What does that portend for our future? There's a big question. What does it portend for our future? What does it mean for you and your family? I think it is somewhat less than absolutely spectacular. That's what I think. I think you will lose your soul if you find your way into that at some point. Unless it can be constructed in a way to have total transparency and blah, 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 blah. But how do you know it really is? How do you know it really is? How do you know it don't have a back door and there's some guy behind the curtain with the puppet strings? Plans to control it all. I don't know, guys. I don't know. But the article about the Swedes triggered me to do this video because we're sliding into something. Whether you like it or not, we're sliding into something. And it don't, to me, look pretty. Some people, it might look like nirvana. We get everything we want. The metaverse, we're going to have everything. But like I've said in other videos, once you're in, they don't need to support all those fancy simulations. They can just switch it off. And you're a mind control robot at that point. That could be. That is the ultimate hive where you are one of the worker bees or worker ants. And with no soul and no self-control. Getting lured into it by the sweetness of the taste of the fly bait. Don't take the bait. That is the message of this video. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be seductive. You got to have it. Oh my gosh, it's the best thing that ever was. And if I don't take this, I cease to exist in this world. I got to have it. It's required. Really? At the price of your soul, of who you are? You better think long and hard about this. And you better talk to your loved ones about it. We don't know exactly how it's coming at us, but this stuff all around out there. Is it the mark of the beast? Is it the mark of the beast 2.0? Or is it something worse? Or am I just off on the wrong path? A lot of people will say that. I'm just asking questions. What is it? Just remember, don't take the bait. Don't be the fly. Instead, fly free. So I've always said, at the end of many of my videos, as light dispels dark, love dispels hate. It's one of the best things we can do in our world. Because like most of this evil proceeds from people that have been spun up, believing they've been hurt, and it's still his fault. It's his fault. It's his fault. Well, Hitler played that. That's how he turned the German people, who were the most educated people on earth, against the whole class of people to destroy them. Wow. Don't get played, and don't take the bait. Use your mind, your discernment, your faith, your inner knowing. Reach out to the greater creator. However your faith as you do that. Yeah. Many of you get mad at me because I didn't call for certain things in this video. Yeah, maybe I need to start another channel one day. Anyway, consider, think about this stuff. But again, don't take the bait. Okay? With that, just remember, subscribe, bang that notification bell, click all, check out my links to True Leaf Market, and go to prepwithgreg.com. And good night, God bless, and Greg out.